Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to do Pepe Deluxe album number 5. And I'll just kind of talk about one thing I could show. I'll probably do a collection update at some point. I did get the Crooked Fiddle Band album. It's called The Free Wild Wind and Songs of Birds. And good record. More to say about it at some point, hopefully. It's just not preoccupied with stuff, but yeah, that's good. The elements came out of the band from Down Under, like mostly instrumental, progressive folk, gypsy kind of stuff. Anyway, so I talked about Queen of the Wave, and thank James Spectrum, or Paul Malmstrom himself left me a comment the other day. Really nice of him to do that. They followed up they had Queen of the Wave in 2012. I just talked about that in the last video, as I just said. So they put out another record, but I guess I did today kind of go through and review some of the stuff they did before the next record. And like I said, I'd like to do a more in-depth discussion of Queen of the Wave, but they did do, and I guess you could say it's like an EP. It was 4 tracks for what was known as the Angry Birds Go original game soundtrack, not the film. This was in 2013. 4 songs: the Go theme, Songbird, Hot Streak, and Races High, which is mostly instrumental and stuff that you would necessarily hear on a video game. So that, you know, go figure. But it's the second track. Songbird has a little bit of vocals, and they use the pipe organ in that. Yeah, I mean, the Go theme is pretty catchy. Among their songs on Spotify, it's one of the most played songs. It's in their top 10. Hot Streak is really funky, has some synths, it's vocal effects, and then Races High closes out. This majestic part with horns and everything, sort of a march. It has a little bit of a western element, some recorder. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say I would be listening to this regularly, but it's not bad. All these years, for 11 years, I've never listened to the Angry Birds Go soundtrack that they put out. But that was in 2013. Then in 2016, they put out their first like separate single that wasn't on that, a song called "Go Girl Go," which I totally remember and was like really excited when that came out. That was just whatever it was, 4 years after Queen of the Wave. And it had, I think of it mostly for the speak and spell, like vocal effects, voiceover, spacey synths, and it's kind of space rock. There's a big piece of artwork they used with it, talking about like space rock, going into space. There are some horns and sax on it, but it's a speak and spell thing. I remember like the trailer for it, like maybe the video for it. It does spell out the word girl. So in the vocals, give me a G, give me an I, give me an R, give me an L. What does that spell? So, you know, I mean, it's a good track. You know, different. Then I remember it's quite different in some ways from. Although I suppose you could say it resembled some of the stuff maybe from Spare Time Machine or Beatitude. Probably actually the earlier stuff, because using the vocal effects so much, the electronics. So then you're still waiting. Are we gonna get a new Pepe Deluxe album? No, but then 2019 they put a 7-inch vinyl single, and it was digital later also, called the Surrealist Woman, which it's called Theme Song from Giraffes on Horseback Salad, which every time I see the word giraffe on there, I'm not thinking of Kevin Gilbert's giraffe, but friend Christian was telling me about a band, Giraffe's Tongue or something like that I need to listen to. It has a connection with some other band, I forget. But this song is more retro. I mean, it's quite the opposite of Go Girl Go. And even some ways it's different. It differs from Queen of the Wave in that it's almost going back. It reminds me of like what Dirtper Robbins has done in some ways. It's very vaudevillian, Roaring Twenties sounding, golden, you know, the golden Roaring Twenties. They use a sample or a couple samples. One of them might be Groucho Marx when he says hello, or it might be someone just trying to sound like him. It's kind of muffled with the distortion. The female singer reminds me of Janelle Monáe, she's been on done Queen of the Wave, I believe. I'm not sure, again, Sarah, whatever her name is, but they have a great ragtime piano part in it. Among the lines, "Do my lips caress?" Then there's some very Django Reinhardt guitars with soaring vocals toward the end. And then you hear again what sounds like Groucho. It might be someone doing a Groucho-like voice, or maybe some other comedian from that era, like 20s, 30s, maybe the 40s even. Oh, I love a good song. If I hear one, I'll let you know. So they did all that, and they released that as a 7-inch. I know I wanted to buy it, and I somehow trying to check out and purchase and order it. It didn't work back in 2019. So here we are now. Whatever, we're 7 years past the release of Queen of the Wave, the album that I love so much, and that's Pepe Deluxe. And Pepe Deluxe are waiting to access these instruments they want to make their album with. So then finally, I don't know when we heard about it initially. Was it in 2020 or there was they I think it is probably Paul, very active on social media, like on Facebook, writing up long, extensive stories about technology, about instruments, about accessing instruments. I remember him talking about having multiple Pepe Deluxe albums. So the new album and this album might have been what he was referring to, and maybe one more. I'm not sure, but in 2021, it was the fall of 2021 that this came out. I didn't even look that up. I should probably just to get this down. It was like October, I want to say, of 2021. Yeah, let's see. The Phantom Cabinet Volume 1. It was October 22nd. So the CD and the booklet has a lot. Enter the Cabinet. As I mentioned, and I guess I will link, when I got the vinyl, I did some detailed review. I don't think I ever did an official review of this. I know I put it on my Albums of the Year list in 2021. But it was obviously a really big deal, having loved Queen of the Wave so much, enjoying the other records, Thread Time Machine and Beatitude. Hadn't really heard Super Sound. Admitted I probably should have. I still don't have a physical copy of Super Sound. I probably still should try to look into it if it doesn't cost me an arm and a leg. But an album titled Phantom Cabinet Volume 1 always struck me as like something out of like the cabinet, like the wardrobe, like from Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But of course, it's Volume 1. It suggests that they're going to do a second part. I think the first single was General Deluxe, the opening track, which is like six. I'll try to get into it quickly here. I wrote all the credits down. I copied them from Discogs, but 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Yeah, I think that was the first single, and I liked it. It was kind of all over the place, but I'm not sure who the singer. Again, there's many singers, but one of them is by the name of Charlotta Krebs. So I have the vinyl too. I guess I could, as I showed in that video a couple of years ago. This is where you really get, and I still haven't invested the half an hour to an hour and a half or whatever to like kind of understand the premise, the concept so much. But I always got the impression a lot of this had to do with horror. A lot of it had to do with, like circuses and the supernatural, which they did some of it on Queen of the Wave, but it was more schizophrenic, I guess you could say. Yeah, this was just a black vinyl, but you can look at the, maybe the devil too. I mean, there's just, the occult. I guess that's the best way to. They're diving into the occult among other things. To the curious cabinet of the sonic phantom, priceless musical treasures recorded from and with the greatest galaxy of instrument oddities on this or any earth. It's almost like a traveling occult circus or freaks that are traveling through space beyond just traveling through, on our planet. But all right, so General Deluxe features some vocal lines like, "Come on, we've been found. Come on, come on, come on." Not like the Beatles, "Come on," but we've been found. We've been marching to a different drum, tickling the keyboards and piano. There's a big groove at points on this track, General Deluxe. It's a call and response. It's like one female singer, maybe Charlotta Krebs, and like more than one, another one. But it's very soulful, very like R&B inspired at points. The drumming's tight. There's a cool synth part in the bridge, and then what sounds like an harpsichord. There's a bunch of moments on this album that sound like harpsichord, but they're probably using something else because I'm just lacking sort of the research and just like keeping tabs on every instrument and every song. But around 3:38, you get a quiet section with bass guitar, which I like, and then some pitch bending vocal effects. Toward the end, everyone you happen upon, yeah, that's like repeated phrase. But there's a very cool vintage synth solo, some lead vocals toward the end. General Deluxe is a fun song, even though it kind of is all over the place. It's cohesive somewhat. So moving on to the second, 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Second track, The Girl from Satanville, featuring Demon Fuzz. It's 4 minutes and 4 seconds. Funky fuzz guitar, hence the title, the name featuring Demon Fuzz. Some voiceovers in Spanish. Sounds like maybe Spanish, but then we get a little line that says, "What the hell am I babbling about?" A lot of narrative. Long black hair, long black car, some whistling flute and some fuzz guitar and some drums. The funk kind of continues on throughout this, this song. That's what I'm talking about now. Listen, it's more narrative. It's a lot of instrumental parts over a lot of narrative, which a lot of this record features. For years I was a zombie, but you brought me back from the dead. Then there's this staccato riff in the background. It's very staticky. Just what is it that makes today? Okay, what is it that makes women's? What is it that makes today's women so appealing? Some guy talking to some woman, and she goes, "You're married." It's like, she goes, "Where are you from?" She goes, "Satanville." So I don't know if this is like Satan's wife. I don't know. It's like she's connected to Satan, whatever, the female Satan, or like what's the a succubus, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of dialogue on this song, so which is for the better for the most part. But it's sort of their influence of hip hop is coming back on this track and a lot of this album. So the third track, A Morning Beautiful, is the longest song I think on the album, 6 minutes and 48 seconds. The vocals sound processed at the beginning, but the female vocals, it's a morning, it's adorning, it's pretty. The word beautiful comes in, of course, Morning Beautiful. Sort of poetic, dreamy, reminds me a little bit of my Flaming Thirst from Queen of the Wave. The tempo and the moods kind of mid-tempo. You hear some wind chimes used in the second verse. Sounds like she said, "Who needs a dojo? Kings and queens." Very exotic. We have electric telegraph. Talking about technology, but using the telegraph. Very medieval or Middle Eastern and mystical. It's at points. Like I said, it reminds me somewhat of My Flaming Thirst from Queen of the Wave. Then you hear like what sounds like a speaker on a PA. I'm like, is it from a circus? Sounds like the big top. Hail to the future, hail to the new kings and queens and baby. Sort of like announcing the crowning of royalty in a way, like the new king. Here's the new king. Maybe in ancient Greece, kind of reminds me of. Wall of Sound organ ends it, drives sort of the ending of it with whistling. It's decent. I think it's not as kind of all over the place compared to some songs being as long as it is. But it's sort of mid-tempo, so it doesn't have like a ton of energy, but it fits the mood okay. The fourth track, 22nd Century Dandy. It's 5 minutes 11 seconds. Starts out kind of electronic. It's like an ELO echoing female vocalist. Then it has a really fat groove. Lots of higher pitched female vocal harmonies. Guitar shredding in a trippy way. You start to hear that too. Not only do they bring in the hip hop element with the narratives and stuff like that, and samples. You seem to have more of the guitar shredding than you'd had on the previous Queen of the Wave for sure. And they did a little bit of that, I think, in the Angry Birds game though. So it wasn't like gone, but they used it more as a feature on some of the songs on this, including 22nd Century Dandy. Some vocal distortions, the line necessary, 0, Almost sounds like it's using auto-tune, but it may just be a little bit of vocal distortion. Then you get some breakbeat textures in the groove, some drums up front, with background chanting from the female singers, and then the sample. Then you hear what a sample sounds like it's in an Asian language, Korean or Japanese. I'm not sure. So I think it's a woman, but anyway, very busy drums on this song at that point in the second half. The female, the voice that it ends the song is either a different singer, it's in a lower octave, might be a different singer, but in the verse it starts around 4 minutes and 15 seconds, at the last, whatever, minute of the song, is at 4:15, the last, little less than a minute. So the fifth track, Big Fat Woodpecker, probably is the most different song on this album that I'd ever heard from Pepe Deluxe, because it features the vocals of, I guess the guy's name is Big Fat Harry Deal. I don't know if he's Caucasian or African American or black or whatever, but he has almost like a baritone voice, and there's a quirky and comedic element to this whole song. It has a very fat groove. It's only 3 minutes and 7 seconds, but boom boom, the big bass drum, very much exploring rhythm, like a kid's anthem. This is a song the kids would play, like banging on the drum and the percussion instruments, you know. Big bass drum, we're gonna have fun. Rhythm, vocals, it's such a deep baritone, like a big heavy set man playing to kids. Yeah, like Fat Albert. I thought of Fat Albert, man. I've thought of Fat Albert every time I hear this song. Twangy guitars get included at points, but the rhyming is funny. You have some horns and some screaming. Wow, boom 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 boom. We're gonna get some big bad bass. I can't do it in a big bad. And then at the very end, as you go through this 3 minutes, whatever it is, 3 minutes, probably about 3 minutes of that, you hear him just ask the question, "Oh, sorry, can I run that again?" And then you hear a bird call. But Big Fat Woodpecker, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's fun. It's a little bit of a novelty, especially for them. But I guess given their sort of diverse influences and styles that they've explored, it's not super weird to hear. It's very much a percussive, percussive with the voice in some ways too, and what that sounds like. It's more rhythm based than melody based, but even though there is a melody to it. So funny song. I mean, you know, if the whole album was like this, it would be a weird, but just to have it as an isolated track, it kind of still works on the record. So alright, that's track number 5. Track number 6, The Halls of Calavella. It's 5 minutes and 29 seconds. Very mystical. This is maybe the most narrative of many songs that are very much featuring narrating. Sounds like a curator on a tour of some kind for, like, you know, whatever, tourist attraction, guests, people going through what is a building or an art gallery. It kind of reminds me of something off of Queen of the Wave in some ways with the narrative. Artwork, I mean, I didn't catch all the narrative, but artwork that leads to the future. We have arrived in a wing building, 36 chambers of innovation. Yeah, it talks about the gallery having both past and will have future, like the greatest works of art and paintings. The narrator reminds me a little bit of the way Christopher Lee sounded in The Wicker Man, which is interesting. Just a little bit of a Wicker Man, something similar to The Wicker Man later on. But brothers are available at the gift shop. I know he said something are available at the gift shop. I didn't say brothers. The Purgatory of Stance, climbing up 4 and 4 steps. So it's like a tour of some kind, and eventually they're going up to, like, you know, to the top of the building or the gallery or wherever this is all being kept, all this artwork and everything. The entire glorious city and its surroundings. It's something out of, like, Star Trek, that city in the sky. I think of, you know, like the one where the guy Harvey, whatever his name is, the guy who was never really there. Harvey was never there. He was an android, but you know, a few of the different original series Star Trek episodes kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, someone basically, it's all an illusion really, trying to talk up sort of great work, which in turns out was actually fraudulent. But there was actually still research and archaeological history to be sort of uncovered. But they did a little bit of that in Battlestar Galactica too. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting track. I've always liked it, but at the same time, it just sort of is. it's a different approach to music. It's not melodic, really. It's atmospheric. But anyway, it's decent. Track number 6. Number 7, Fire Up the Crimson Lion. This is probably the most proggy of all the songs. It's also maybe the most schizophrenic. I like a lot of this song. Starts out with voice effects, but maybe not people singing so much. Something that Calphonse Pow had done, the guys from Apes and Androids, with the keyboard patches and that sound like robots. They're not actually people singing, but they sound like a voice that's done through a process thing or a robot. But then a preacher is speaking with distortion. Then you hear a female singer more up front. I mean, the female vocals are featured on this song. Maybe more than one, actually. Some whistles and harpsichord and chantings, a helicopter, a diving suit, a parachute. Yeah, there's a theme to it, but it's it's not sure where it's going to go, and so there's definitely some odd time signatures here. There's a lot of different layers of, whatever instrumentation they're using. Synthesizers, flute, whistles, maybe some harpsichord and xylophone. Yeah, okay, my bad. So, we get to about middle of the song. There's a reggae feel to one part with some accordion. And the female vocals get manipulated. And you get the line, dreams, playing in the now, eternal. You hear the really cool xylophone pattern with the chanting after that part. This tune gets really trippy and mystical, like a hallucination in some ways. It's a little bit like Hespera's Garden, but maybe more out there from a melodic, textural standpoint. Lots of opera chanting, because there's like more than one female singer on this song, at least maybe 2 or 3. And it goes into a section with what sounds like oboe and some organic keys, and another singer narrating, the singer who sounds like Janelle Monáe from Go Supersonic. I don't know if it's Sarah or whatever her name is. Then the first female singer, the one who deeper, comes back, more chanting. Driving drums and xylophone ends with a whistle. I mean, it's kind of all over the place. It's one of those songs you probably have to listen to it like 20 times before you really kind of understand what they're going for. But at the same time, it's cool bits. It's not as cohesive. But that being said, again, in that sense, it is prog or progressive rock kind of in its sort of approach. And it's like one song I'm sure people will either love or hate. It is one of my favorite songs just from appreciating the musicianship on it. The Fire Up the Crimson Lion. So track number 8, Summerland, followed that. And of course, Summerland, I thought of the Wicker Man kind of rip-off A24 movie from a few years ago. I don't know what came first. I think this was probably written before that, but I just thought that might have been a connection. But this one starts out kind of catchy, though. Acoustic driven with whistling. Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. It's a little bit of organ. The first half really has this driving motif with the whistling and the acoustic guitar. I mean, this is more stripped down compared to like the last couple tracks, especially. Pretty much every song, one of the more stripped down songs on this album. Very hippie-ish though. Kind of remind me again of Star Trek, that Eden episodes. Like these people are on this land, this island, this area, this planet that everything is so like, ideal. Finding the fountain of youth, Then you hear a sample of like a bee or a fly, which sounds like for a few seconds, and vocals come. The vocals are in Swedish, I believe. I saw one review that mentioned that. But there's also some female chanting in English. Take my hand, we'll go back to Summerland. Yeah, I mean it's a decent song. I mean from I guess sort of straightforward track. It's one of the more straightforward tracks on this album. It's not necessarily my favorite, but I mean I don't hate it. I don't mind it. So then track 9, the last 2 tracks we got, Placebo track 9, Placebo PCB-1. This is like a parody commercial for like, guitar pedals, like a enhanced, new inventive guitar pedal. Yeah, it's parodying like shredders and like John Petrucci. I'm going to destroy the universe with this thing. Okay, get ready. The gong. Here's the gong. Far out, man. It waves goodbye and unleash your potential, your true potential. The placebo rocks, says the engineer for Hendrix and Floyd, and I didn't catch the other ones. I was just thinking of Steve Terraberry on YouTube, who does those sort of, look at me play, I can do this kind of style, and he's just completely not taking himself seriously. This song is complete parody. I don't think they're trying to take themselves too seriously on this, even though there's some shredding on some other parts of this album, and like I said, the Angry Birds. It's kind of, you didn't hear that exact kind of shredding on Queen of the Wave. It was mostly the surf rock, but So then the last track, track number 10, Tiger Boy, Rocket Boy, 652. High range female singer again. That high, I don't know again who it is, Sarah, whatever her name is, but very groove driven with horns, and the big fat hairy deal comes back. The guy from Woodpecker, the Woodpecker track, Big Fat Woodpecker, right? Yeah. He comes in the background, but there's some female chanting. I can't remember what I meant to write down. It reminds me of, but he sounds like a frog, and then it sort of hit me how much it reminds me of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard song Rattlesnake. That that it's froggy vocals. I don't know if I can do it with my throat. I can't really do that with my throat. But then there's some East Indian instrumentation which I like. Kind of call and response between the female singer and Big Fat Hairy Deal, chanting "Tiger, Tiger, bye I, Rocket, Rocket, bye I," which is supposed to be Tiger, probably Tiger Boy, Rocket Boy, but it sounds like the way she's singing it and pronouncing it sounds like bye I and I bye. It sounds like she's singing like in an Asian accent. I'm not sure, but more kind of Bollywood-esque in that sense. Verses for Big Hat. Okay, yeah, again, more froggy vocals from Big Hat Fairy Deal follow that. Big Fat Hairy Deal. Some flute and drums are added to this with a staccato rhythm later. Dreamy chants with keys and xylophone again, and violin and maybe some other string parts. Some narrating comes in after that point. We're like 4+ minutes into the song. I can't scroll down. But yeah, some dreamy chants. Let's see here. Firing muskets, but the arms were too great. I didn't catch all of that, but lots of layers of synths. What's it called? Of the drums and rhythms toward the end. Fast picking on the retro sounding guitar again. It gets the tempo builds up toward the end of this track. Tiger Boy, Rocket Boy. Kind of in a climatic way. To end the record. This is the last track on the record. With keys and some other instruments chanting like there's this one section with you got that kind of brutal death metal vocal style where they're singing right into this. It's not death metal vocals, but it's had that same idea, that same premise, approach with distortion as an echo. And then there's some organ, the snare and the drums at the end. Eventually it fades down. I like sort of how it does kind of build an end to end the record in that sense. But I would say the thing about this, so that's the end. That's my take, my summary of this record in sort of incohesive detail. A lot of this album it's kind of got a lot going on. I have the same sort of reaction that other people might have to some of their other records, even Queen of the Wave, in that there's a lot going on a lot of the tracks, and it's hard to sort of latch on to as much a lot of the parts. Some of them I can. I mean, I appreciate Fire Up the Crimson Lion, that song especially, and General Deluxe generally too. I don't know if the word deluxe came just because the name of the band is Pepe Deluxé. I'm not sure. I don't know if I can, make some time and read through the one from Queen of the Wave. Some of this record may sort of mean a little bit more to me, but I was just hitting me today. Like when I heard this record in 2021, it was a really big deal for it to come out, of course, because it had been 9 years we had a full-length record from Pepe Deluxé, and I love that record so much, Queen of the Wave, that my sort of wanting it to love it and sort of fanboyism to some degree kind of lost sight of sort of being like fully like accurate on my opinion of it. And I haven't revisited that many times over the last 2.5 years since it's come out. And in that sense, I'm not in love with this record, even probably as much as I was initially in 2021. I like it. I like parts of it. Some of the songs, the softer songs, are not bad, like Morning Beautiful and Summerland. Halls of Cavella has the mood, but it just doesn't have it reminds me more of the previous two records from Queen of the Wave. And if I was ranking albums, when Comix Sonix comes out and I've taken it in, I'll do a ranking. But I wouldn't say it's my least favorite Pepe Deluxe album, but I can't say I like it. It's not, obviously I don't like it as much as Queen of the Wave. I can't really know. I don't know if I can really say I like it as much as Spare Time Machine. I probably would put it about on par with Beatitude, but I'll say at least with Beatitude, the best songs I probably have more reason to go back to. This album is just sort of, it's an interesting exploration and a trip, but from a sort of melodic, wanting energy and sort of, it's a mood record. It's a great mood record. I guess that's the best way to put it. And I know it says Volume 1, so that suggests there might be a Volume 2 or more. But Comix Sonix, I don't think it's supposed to be. Now, we're going to see what kind of stuff is going to be on Comix Sonix next week, or the following weeks after that. But what is your take on Pepe Deluxé's most recent record, Phantom Cabinet Volume 1? I'll leave a link, of course, to the stream on Spotify, and I'll pass along my previous review and comments, which is showing more of the vinyl. It's really not that big of a deal. It's like, whatever, it's 3 years ago. So, but thank you for watching. I'm going to try to do, I'm working on 1993 right now, and should be probably by Friday, if not sooner, because I'm off tomorrow. But I got stuff, I'm going to the baseball game, and I got to bring my car in. And I want to do, I've done part of the sports rant, Minnesota sports history thing. I didn't get it finished the other day. I might try to finish that up today, and then maybe I'd put that up tomorrow sometime. But thank you for watching again, and we'll see you next time.